hybrids make a lot of sense for the average shopper who isn't quite ready to embrace electrification, but is looking to save a few bucks at the pumps, which I guess is quite a few of you out there these days. And that's why this Kia Sportage Hybrid has entered a growing segment of gas-electric options led by the likes of the always popular Toyota RAV4. And while the RAV4 Hybrid has the edge in a couple important categories, it's that bang for the buck that Kia has been known for years that makes this such a compelling offering. For more expert car reviews, don't forget to share our channel and subscribe so you can catch some of this and maybe even a little of that. So this 2023 Sportage is new. It's built on a new platform. Just about everything about it is new. As I'm sure you could probably tell just by looking at it, it's built on the same platform that underpins the Sorento, which I reviewed not too long ago. That was the plug-in hybrid version. And hey, there's a plug-in coming for this thing too. So if you want at least a little bit of a preview of what that's going to be like, go take a look at that Sorento video once you are done here. I also have to say that Kia and its sister brand Hyundai, they have a pretty unique approach to hybridization because they use a turbocharged engine and a 6-speed automatic transmission instead of the continuously variable type. It's very unique because if you take a look at Toyota, Ford, any of the brands it competes with in the hybrid space, they use that kind of typical, slightly larger displacement, naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, as well as a continuously variable transmission. And that does lead to those problems of sluggishness, feeling strained. This doesn't have those issues at all. And a big reason why is the 1.6 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that is under the hood. It makes 177 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque on its own. That's the same engine that's used in the Kia Seltos as well as the Hyundai Kona, any of the brand's smaller products. It's a great little motor, and it does feel a little bit strained in something that's bigger like this. It's a little bit heavier, but it's got that added bonus of an electric motor. With that electric motor, net system output, that's the peak that they can both operate at simultaneously. Well, that jumps to 227 horsepower, which is pretty competitive with the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid, but it's got more torque. Net torque is 258 pound-feet. That is plenty for a crossover this size. And especially because it works with that turbo motor, it does help this thing feel like it can accelerate with at least a little more urgency than your average hybrid. Even right now, I've got this thing in eco mode because, hey, that's what hybrids are all about. But when I put my foot down, it sounds pretty loud because this is a 1.6 liter engine motivating a pretty heavy vehicle, but this thing gets up and goes pretty quickly. I'm actually impressed with the acceleration. It definitely feels far quicker than both the Escape as well as that RAV4 Hybrid. But the downside, this thing isn't quite as efficient. And I know it's sort of nitpicking, but here's the thing. Officially, this is rated for 6.2 liters per 100 kilometers combined. Whereas if you take a look at that RAV4, well, it's good for 6 liters per 100 kilometers combined. And the Escape is good for 5.9. And historically, I have been able to overachieve in both of those things. Back when I tested the Escape Hybrid, I burned 5.6 liters per 100 kilometers, which is incredibly low. And then in the RAV4, I've always been able to be right in the high fives. So just a little bit better than this thing on paper, but in practice, I've been doing a little bit worse than that official rating this week. I'm right around 6.6 liters per 100 kilometers right now, and I've been driving fairly efficiently too. Been driving a little bit around town, a little bit on the highway, a nice mix of the two. So I was hoping to do a little bit better, and I ran into the same issue back when I tested the Hyundai Tucson Hybrid that has this same powertrain. And we've got a review on the AutoTrader YouTube channel, so go ahead and watch that one as well if you want to see what the sister brand of this thing has going for it. And at this point, you may as well just subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button, click the notification bell so you can get updated when we publish all of these great videos. But anyways, glass half full, I gotta say, that's at least a lot better than your average gas-powered SUV. And that, to me, is the key about going hybrid. And look, I don't want to beat up on this thing too much, but I do also have to say that I find the RAV4 Hybrid to be just a little more refined in terms of ride quality. And it's not that this thing is uncomfortable. It's just you can really kind of feel the platform rigidity. And it's hard to describe, but I would call it kind of like a hollow rigidity, if that makes sense to you guys. It doesn't feel super solid like a premium vehicle does, but it's got that stiffness. So it seems kind of light in a weird way. It's, like I said, hard to describe exactly what's going on here, but it definitely supersedes any of the softness that's been dialed into the suspension, especially out here at moderate speeds. On the highway, definitely it kind of floats along nicely. The battery pack, that extra weight down low, does help to give it that kind of gliding sensation. But for the most part, the RAV4 does have the edge. And something else I don't really like is the steering. There's just no feel or feedback whatsoever. And from what I remember of the old Sportage, there was just a little bit of heft to the steering. Definitely, at least you could have a sense of which direction the wheels were pointing. Whereas in this thing, not at all. I am really not digging this steering setup. But again, overall, the drive is nice, and I don't want to get down on this thing too much because it is a fairly satisfying and easy SUV to drive. Okay, we've got to talk about the styling, especially this front end, which I describe politely as polarizing. I've been with this thing for the better part of a week. I don't know about you guys, but I'm just not sold on it. And it's not that it's ugly, it's just so out there. The other problem I have with it, well, it's just like I complained about with the Genesis GV60. There's no family resemblance with the rest of the Kia lineup. So you can't really tell this is a Kia. It doesn't look like a Sorento, a Forte, anything. Little weird, but some cool stuff. Like this line that starts here on the back door and leads towards the taillights, gives it a really nice and wide rear end. And then overall, this thing is a lot bigger than the last Sportage. It's about 7 inches longer from tip to tail, and about half that much has also been added to the wheelbase. The result? So much second row legroom. It is awesome to see. Now, overall, there is a bit less cargo room in the back than you get in the Toyota RAV4, but the 876 liters here, I'd say that's more than enough, and so is the 1660 when you fold the back seats down. And the other thing I absolutely love, handles in here to fold either side of that 60/40 split folding rear bench, which is great because it means you don't have to put down that big bulky item you're trying to load into the back. It makes it easy to reconfigure this space on the fly. Now, Kia has really kept the Sportage Hybrid lineup simple. There are 2 trims to choose from, no packages, and your only options, paint colors. So starting for about 38 grand before tax for the EX, you do get a bunch of good stuff. This big 12.3-inch touchscreen, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, built-in navigation, satellite radio, heated front seats, a heated steering wheel. There's a full advanced safety suite too. So you've got lane departure warning and keep assist, forward collision warning with automatic emergency braking, and adaptive cruise control as well. It's a very well-rounded kit. There are a few features that are missing for the money though, one of which, power tailgate. That to me, even for 38 grand, definitely should be included, but I'm not going to get down on it too much because the rest of what's here is very good. Now, if you step up to the SX trim, that's the one I'm driving, there are a bunch of meaningful upgrades for the 43 grand or so Kia is charging for it. The first one, as you can see, this massive power panoramic sunroof. You also get ventilated front seats, heated rear ones. You get another 12.3-inch digital display here that replaces the instrument cluster. Obviously, that's not touch sensitive, but you can pull up a ton of different info here in front of you. That is really nice. There's also stuff like an upgraded stereo and the brand's blind view monitoring system. So when you activate the signal, it pulls up a live look at either side of the vehicle right here in the display. It's just one of those extra features. There's also that highway driving assist. I'm not so crazy about it, but it does work fairly well. So it gives you steering assist when you're out on the highway, but you do have to keep your hands on the wheel. This is not a hands-free system. My problem with it, it just kind of has a tendency to push you around a little bit. Doesn't really feel like it's doing a proper job staying in its lane. And then sometimes it'll push you towards lane markings and start beeping at you, telling you that, you're crossing the line. But to me, that's on the vehicle. That's not on me. So it's a little bit weird. But the cool thing is you can turn it off. So you've got this button here, and if you click it or hold it, you can toggle between highway driving assist or just lane keep assist. The other issue with the adaptive cruise control system, I do find it keeps just a little bit too wide of a gap from a vehicle in front of you. So that gives other drivers an opportunity to cut in front. And that means you're going to hit the brakes. And that means everyone else is going to hit the brakes too. So not quite a perfect system, but I'd rather see it here than not at all. Now, I do have to say, more importantly than the features you get, which there are a ton more here than you get in the RAV4 Hybrid, but more importantly, this just feels a little nicer, a little more upscale as far as the interior is concerned. They both have synthetic leather upholstery, but this stuff actually feels a little nicer. This seat, I find it a little more comfortable than the RAV4 Hybrids as well. The only real downside in here that really bums me out, and I wish automakers would stop doing it, all of this gloss black plastic, so much dust, it attracts all that oil from your fingers when you're hitting all these buttons and stuff. It looks really gross. And I know some of you have told me it's not that hard to keep it clean, but my point is, if they use textured plastic like this stuff here that runs along the center stack, that would solve the problem. It still looks great, and you wouldn't see any fingerprints or dust on it. So that to me is something that Kia could do to improve this cabin just a little bit. But for the most part, it is a nice space. It's also fairly intuitive. All the buttons in here, they do make a lot of sense. And I do have to make a slight correction to my Kia EV6 review because it has the same kind of dual purpose touch panel down here on the center stack where you click this icon and it'll toggle between HVAC or audio controls. Back when I reviewed that EV6, I said there was no way to turn the HVAC system off completely. Now, some EV6 owners were quick to jump on me in the comments telling me that clearly I'm not much of a car reviewer because I didn't know that if you just hit the knob, it would turn the system off completely. And I do want to admit that I was wrong. I stand corrected, but that's not very intuitive. And the other problem is I can't actually see that knob or where it says power from the driver's seat. So it's not totally my fault. And the other thing is, to me, that's not very intuitive because there's fan speed icons. So if I tap those to go up or down, why wouldn't I just be able to tap one more time to shut it off completely? So I am admitting I was wrong, but I don't think I was totally out of line for expecting to do it a simpler way. And then just in general, this isn't the greatest setup. It does look cool. It's kind of novel. But my problem is it adds an extra step to the process because you have to toggle between HVAC and climate controls instead of just having both right here in front of you. The other issue, rotary gear selector. Not so crazy about it because you can't just do it without looking. You do really have to pay attention to what you're doing. And to me, that's something that you should just be able to reach down and do intuitively as well. But overall, like I said, lots to like about this cabin, lots to like about the size of it, and even the efficiency. No, it's not quite as efficient as the RAV4 or the Ford Escape, but I think I would be willing to overlook that for all this does right. To recap, I like the features across the simple Sportage Hybrid lineup, its competitive pricing, and the unique turbo hybrid combination. I don't like the bold styling, the lifeless steering, or that it isn't as efficient as its main rivals. The ride might not be quite as refined as the RAV4s, and it's a little less efficient, but from a bang for your buck perspective, this new hybrid Sportage from Kia is hard to ignore. There are still plenty of good reasons to pick that popular Toyota, but if you're looking to maximize the stuff for money quotient, this Sportage Hybrid shouldn't be overlooked.